All colleges must provide accommodations under the law, but how they deliver those accommodations can vary. What kind of services does Disability Resource Services provide to students here at Madison College? We provide a number of different services, and there's really two categories for those services. A mandated set of services and sort of a non-mandated set of services. We provide a number of services that are mandated based off of the functional barrier of the disability. So what's key there is that we match the functional barrier to the accommodation. And what's called a reasonable accommodation is when the barrier and the accommodation kind of go together. So inquiring about services, essentially what that means is getting accommodations. They provide us with documentation from a physician, from a medical expert, from a psychologist that outlines in detail the strengths and barriers of that particular disability. Now the great thing about Madison College is that those resources are available for everybody. And we have to remember that students with disabilities are students first. So we want, so they have access to everything else that all students can get. Within the Learning Center, we have a couple of faculty members who are called special needs instructors. They specifically work with students with disabilities and with the faculty in the classes that they're taking to help do some basic assessment to figure out what might be going right, what might not be going so right, to kind of create some interventions to help the student be successful. So for instance, just because an individual is in a wheelchair doesn't mean they need a note taker. Just because an individual is deaf doesn't mean they need testing accommodations. However, if the person in a wheelchair has difficulty writing, or they have limited strength or fine motor coordination, then a note taker might be reasonable. If an individual who's deaf also has some barriers in language and reading, they might also qualify to use a note taker. We help sort of serve as a liaison to community resources. It allows us to sort of be that one-stop shop where a student can come in, and even if they don't know what question to ask, we can sort of give them the kind of information they need to help form those questions. We also provide advocacy for students. We help sort of bridge that communication gap. If a student doesn't know how to communicate their disability or their accommodation needs to an instructor, we would assist in that process. The case management system here at Madison College is somewhat unique. We have the ability to provide more one-to-one services if students choose to have that. The non-mandated services, things like case management, things like our Learning Center, which is located in our library here at Truax, at downtown, I believe, on the second floor. There's also a smaller Learning Center at the West Campus where individuals with disabilities can go and get academic assistance.